What's up? Coming to you live from the van. Today we're talking about my favorite subject ever, bouldering grades. I want to tell you a little bit why I love them and why I hate them and why they're stupid and why they're genius. First off, I want to tell you a little story. A couple days ago, I got my first ever V11 flash. No, excuse me. A couple days ago, I got my first ever one session V11, and it left me feeling a little strange. I I felt as though the problem must have been really soft, because I mean I had never even come close to doing a V11 in one session before, and all of a sudden I just kind of did it. I was 3 days on climbing. I wasn't expecting to do anything other than basically scout it out and maybe get some beta. It was terrible conditions. It was like above 60 degrees and it was a slopey lip traverse that I'm pretty sure had just been in the sun for like at least an hour or so. So it left me feeling a little strange, but going and reading some comments online that people had posted, it seemed like some people thought it was hard. Some people thought it was soft. It was very similar to a climb I just did called Ride the White Horse. It's slopey lip traverse, and the Ride the White Horse went from right to left, and this one called Xerox Candy Bar went from left to right, and it was a grade harder, and I felt like it was 2 grades easier. So going back, I'll be overdubbing some of these videos, and I ended up running into my friend out here, Doug, that I used to know back when I lived in Florida. Yes, I used to live in Florida, not anymore, but he still does, unfortunately. So anyways, he ended up getting his first V9 shoe polish that I ended up starting one move in, and had to go back with him and actually start the original way. So I guess I'm just a little frustrated right now because when grades don't turn out the way that you want them to, sometimes it can be very frustrating, and it can just end up, you just say, grades are stupid, I don't care. But grades are such a way to, make goals. And I just made a video about making goals, and that mostly it's about grades. So that makes it difficult. So I don't know, sometimes they're stupid, but sometimes they're great. So getting a little bit into it, there's 2 different types of bouldering grades that are popular around the world. The first being the V scale, first developed in Hueco by John Sherman, the Verminator. And basically it goes from V0 to V17. Sometimes there's a VB, and then there's the font scale, which was the original bouldering scale developed in the forest of Fontainebleau, and that goes from basically 1 up to 9A, and that scale's a little bit more complicated in a sense that there's really nothing below 4, seems like, and then all of a sudden around 5 it starts to do A's, and then B's and pluses, and sometimes C's. So getting a little bit into the actual grades themselves, I'm going to go through, I've split them into 4 categories. I'm using a varied amount of resources. One's 99boulders.com, which I think is a really good resource, and then 8a.new, which might not be a great resource, but it's a great database of climbs, and you can get a lot of information on what people think about the grades of a climb. So go ahead, and I'll leave links down the description below, and let's get into the grades. So you guys are going to be seeing a slideshow that I made right now. So I split this into a few different categories. The first being beginner or easy level bouldering problems. So just to explain these bouldering grades, basically we have on the left the V scale, on the right the font scale. So V0 is 4 on the font scale, V1 is 5 on the font scale, V2 is 5 plus on the font scale, and V3 is either a 6A or 6A plus. So you can see that the font scale isn't really following exactly like a linear fashion, which makes it a little complicated, although once it gets into a little bit harder grades, it starts to even out. Basically, like according to like the V3, a 6A would be like an easy V3, and a 6A plus would be like a hard V3. So some people say like V3 minus, V3 plus. That's basically what those two grades are doing. All right, going on to the next one, we have intermediate level boulder problems. So the grade scale on those is going to be from V4 to V7 in the V scale, and then the font scale is going to be from 6B to 7A plus. So I have V4, 6B or 6B plus, V5, 6C, 6C plus, V6, 7A, and V7, 7A plus. So you can see at this point we're going all the way up to, in the font scale, to the C plus, and before we're going on to the next number, and then the letter is A. So the font scale is only going to go A to C, and there's only pluses. So and that's how it goes from here on out. A nice way to kind of remember it is I know that a V6 is a 7A. So then I can kind of do the math in my head if I'm a little confused. So going on to the advanced level bouldering problems, we have from V8 to V12. Obviously this is a giant range, but I just kind of had to split it up into 4 categories to make it a little more manageable. Obviously a V8 climber and a V12 climber is very different. But so the one weird one is V8, and the font scale is 7B or 7B plus. Like specifically on 8a.new, most Americans skip 7B when they're taking things over here, and they just call V7 7A plus and a V8 7B plus. Like that's what I do for myself, because we don't really have 7Bs here. Now if you go over to Europe, they're gonna have 7Bs, and that would basically, in my opinion, be a soft V8. You can do that if you want to. It just, to me, it just adds more confusion, because there's, in that case, you know, it's just, there's only one thing in the V scale that has a plus or minus grade. So I just would avoid that and just totally throw out 7B if you're in America. If you're in Europe, obviously use it, because most things are going to be in the font scale grading scale. So going on, V9 7C, V10 7C plus, V11 8A, and V12 8A plus. So another way to remember it is V11 is 8A, so V6 is 7A, V11 is 8A. So and one small note, what I've found is that going from V9 to V10 is a big step, because you're going from that single digit to the double digit. And then also I feel like going from V10 to V11 can be a big step too, because you're going from 7C plus to 8A. And a lot of climbers have adopted the font scale because it does have that, you know, it's significant to get to V10 and to 8A. So those can be maybe larger steps than some of the other grades in the scale. So going on to the last one, and this is probably not going to apply to many people watching this video, or many people that, just many people at all. But V13 to V17 is elite. V17 is a proposed grade that hasn't been confirmed, but it's on here for reference purposes, and I hope that climb gets done again by somebody, because that would be super cool. And then we have the font scale going from 8B up to 9A, and with the plus in between each one. So that's basically the bouldering scale explained in terms of grades. Now, you know, take this lightly, don't get too caught up in the grades, but I basically made this video so that you'll know what the grades mean, what the grades are, and just so you can kind of like gauge yourself where you are with different levels of climbing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and catch you in the next one.